Other than wrestling with the time to get into the wood shop, something I deal with constantly, and I know many of you do, is coming up with storage strategies for items like, say, lumber or bits and blades, abrasives, finishes, pretty much any of those little things that we need for the project, but we're not using constantly. Now, the first thing I want to talk about is the actual lumber storage in my own shop. And I had mentioned this in the layout area. I've got this nice wall, which is near my tools, so I can mill them very easily and get back and forth. But one thing I want to mention is, as you see the lumber behind me, this is way more lumber than I normally have in my shop. Typically, I try to keep it to a maximum of enough lumber for the current project I'm working on, maybe one down the road. It's very tempting to buy way more lumber than we typically need. But if I can kind of keep it to just what I have right here, this tends to work for me. Another thing I want to mention when it comes to the actual lumber, it's very, very tempting to keep all of our offcuts, because let's get serious, especially if it's an exotic, some sort of beautiful grain or something, we want to hold on to it because we're convinced we're going to do something with it. An important strategy for your storage, get rid of it. This box right here is about the extent of the cutoffs that I will keep. And it's very, very hard for me to do this, but I have gotten myself to keeping it in that size box. In fact, actually, there's a few more things here that need to get thrown out, but that's a great excuse to have a really awesome bonfire and throw those in there and just enjoy the memories as they're burning up versus taking up space in your shop. When it comes to large sheet goods, again, it's very tempting to buy a whole bunch of them because you know you're going to be using them. But again, in limited space like mine, I just simply keep some of the cutoffs. Most of the time, I will stage them either in the garage or in another room and then bring them in and cut them down to the sizes that I need. So again, purchase as needed, and I've really found that that helps me with my storage issues when it comes to materials. Now let's take a look at a couple of other small things that I do, such as like for my power tool accessories, and then even like my abrasives and my finishes. There's a very good chance that with the vast majority of our power tools, we have accessories that are very specific to them. And in this situation over here at my jointer, I use these push blocks constantly with this machine. So what I did was I just got some of these magnetic hooks they're pretty heavy duty, and I set them on here, put my blocks in place, and I know exactly where they are all the time. And the nice thing is, even when the machine's running, they don't shake off of here, and I don't have to go looking for them or worry about them being up on a shelf taking up valuable space. Another example of accessories being close at hand is here underneath the auxiliary table at my table saw. I happen to have this cabinet, and you could easily make yourself something far more specific that would be designed to hold blades or specific tools. This happened to be a plastic one that was about to be tossed out, so I grabbed it because it works out really nicely. I can put, say, like my zero clearance inserts in here. I can have some depth gauges, some push sticks, whatever it is that I normally might not be grabbing constantly, but I want to have close at hand. And even in this situation down here, for the saw stop, I've got my brakes in here, and I also happen to have a couple of blades, a dado set and another saw blade. And again, close at hand. I can also close them up, and to help keep them from getting rusty, I can add, say, some sort of rust prevention item down in there, and it really helps to keep things nice and safe, but more importantly, I know exactly where they are without cluttering up a whole bunch of other locations. When it comes to things like drill bits and router bits, I have a couple of other strategies that I use for this. Now, you may be tempted to create an elaborate storage area for, say, all of your drill bits, but for me, I just simply use, again, going back to magnets, this simple round magnet. I got a couple of square ones here and there. Picked these up for a few dollars at the home center or a department store, and was able to kind of lay out for the most commonly used sizes that I tend to grab over here at the drill press. And all I did was to kind of give myself that peace of mind that I'm not dulling them. I just put a piece of veneer strip right across them, and the nice thing about this is I can easily grab these and go right to town, and I don't have to worry about going searching for them. And again, these are the most common ones that I have. Chances are I'll probably come up with some sort of other system, which will be probably more like a cabinet underneath the drill press or something to store all of my drill bits. But for right now, this works really, really great, and it was rather inexpensive. A really simple strategy to maximize your storage space is to make items dual purpose. Now, in this particular situation, I have this cabinet here with these 5 drawers that I ended up making years ago. I'm having it double as a tool stand. And the nice thing about this is I have these drawers, which are pretty deep, and they hold a lot of items that normally I really won't know. I don't know where else to put them. They're not something I use frequently, but I want to make sure I have them for when I actually do need to use them. So having them in these drawers helps to protect them from the environment so that they're not going to get rusty, they're not going to get broken, they're not going to get dulled. And on top of it, there really is quite a bit of storage here. In fact, actually, I haven't been maximizing it the way I should. I used to have router bits and router bit accessories. I had drill bit and drill bit accessories. I had sandpaper. I had all sorts of stuff in here. Really, if I wanted to, I could probably make a few more of these, and it would help to hold a vast majority of items that I have throughout the rest of the shop. So this is definitely something that you might want to consider. You can make your own, or you can purchase some pre-manufactured. Even if you have to put wheels on them, you are definitely doing yourself a favor by maximizing that floor space and making it dual purpose. Now, I don't know about you, but for me, I tend to have small items that I'm never quite sure where to put them. I just know I don't want them rolling around or necessarily exposed out on a shelf. And sometimes I want to keep some of them all together. So I oftentimes will put them in containers like this. Now, closable lidded containers, you can get them in all sorts of sizes and shapes. You can get them so that they're very easy to open, or have a really tight lid on them to help keep the environment out of it. But the nice thing about them is, of course, you can put all sorts of miscellaneous items in there. Like this is kind of like a finishing one. I've got cheesecloth in here. I've got dyes. I've got milk paint. I've got wood putty. All sorts of just little things that I know for a fact that I can quickly grab this when it comes time to do some finishing. And the same thing also with my sandpaper. I actually happen to have some of my sandpaper in here. This is more or less steel wool. I've got some of the finer grit sandpapers in here. Again, ones that I don't use all the time, but I want to make sure that they're nice and safe and secure when I do. And again, it kind of keeps everything organized, and it only cost me a few dollars at the dollar store for a whole stack of these. And it's very easy, speaking of stacking, of just being able to put this up on a shelf or on a roll around cart or something. And again, they're not rolling all over the place, and it's very easy to find them. So it's very safe to say that the tips and strategies that I incorporate in my own shop are just the tip of the iceberg. We're just scratching the surface of what is out there. So please share your ideas and what it is that you're doing, because who knows, maybe there's something that is right in front of us that we're thinking, I never knew I could do that. That's awesome. And it just freed up a ton of floor space that I can now do something else with. So please get those in. Thank you so much for following along with this series, and thank you to the folks over at Popular Woodworking for making it happen.